So what about vaccines provide herd immunity? Okay, so we have to vaccinate everybody because there's a difference between natural immunity and herd immunity. The concept of herd immunity came from a definition that if enough members in a population are immune or have an infection, all members of the group will be protected. And this whole concept came from a measles study that was done in the 1930s. It was a longitudinal study between, I'm going to say, 1925 and 1935, something, no, it was longer than that. It was a 10-year longitudinal study. It was done in Massachusetts in the 1930s. And what the doctor who did this epidemiological study showed was that once measles had sort of occurred in an area, that it seemed as though when about 2/3 of the people in a population, in a town or a city or a county, had the infection, the other third didn't get it. So they must provide some level of what he labeled herd immunity in order to protect the rest of them. Now this is back in the 1930s or the 1940s. Now two things to think about that. One is maybe the other third were just healthier and their immune system just said, I'm out, get out of here, it's just a little virus. The other thing that then came from this was the concept that if we vaccinate everybody, that will provide herd immunity. So the two things were not initially designed to go together. And so one thing that you hear in the vaccine industry is that we got to vaccinate everybody because if I vaccinate everybody, then we'll all have herd immunity. Which doesn't make any sense, because how many of you have heard the expression, it's like, well, I've had my kids vaccinated and you don't have your kids vaccinated, so my kids are going to be at risk. It's like, oh, wait a minute. If the vaccine really works and you've had your kids vaccinated, the only one's really at risk is mine that isn't vaccinated, so why should you care? Well, what the CDC says about that is that those little pockets of those unvaccinated kids, that if they actually get the infection, that it's such a virulent thing that happens that it just spills over into the rest of the community of kids. And so even though you've had a vaccine, you might get infected. So we can't have that happen, so we have to vaccinate everybody. There's like twisted thinking in there. But that's truly, when you read the documents, that's the way they define it. And one must be vaccinated to protect everyone else. And when the vaccine doesn't work, i.e. there's an outbreak, it's just because everybody hasn't been vaccinated. It's not because the vaccine didn't work or anything like that. So there's some kind of twisted thinking again.